Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome to Fatso Radio, episode number 84. Got a great show for you guys tonight. Tonight, September 11th. Wow, halfway through September, almost halfway through September. But show for you tonight, short one, not too short. But anyway, get into what's going on. Just another update. Before we get further though, I want to remind you, Volpe Martial Arts is the newest, hottest Kung Fu and Hapkido martial arts school in the KW region. That's right, Kitchener Waterloo. If you're looking for martial arts, folks, look at Volpe Martial Arts. Hapkido, Korean style, Kung Fu, Chinese style, an amazing fusion. My brother, Sifu Adam, check it out. Self-defense, forms, weapons. You learn how to break fall. You learn how to break your fall. You learn how to do rolls. You learn how to defend yourself. You learn discipline and a great workout. Check it out, volpemartialarts.com. They have a 2-week trial going on right now, so don't forget to check them out. Also, this episode is brought to you by Meet the Butcher, Sioux Prime Cuts. Check them out. Check them out and ask for Nick Tadashore. Good buddy, Paisano. I met him on the weekend, the last week when I was in the Sioux. We've had a couple episodes together now. Great guy. He's got a good thing going on there. Check him out. They're on White Oak Drive, the old Bluebird building. Anybody from the Sioux, you know that building. Go check him out. Tell Nick I said, salute. All right, folks, put your hands together. No, you don't have to put your hands together. Just listen to the episode. It's just me. All right, I love you all. Lily, take it away. Ciao.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
So get your butt and get in your chair.
Don't eat your nails and don't pull your hair.
We'll talk about chicken or talk about steak.
We'll talk about fat, for goodness sake.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, our very first podcast show.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Fatso Radio. How you doing? Episode number 84 of Fatso Radio, folks, and my name is Carlo Volpe. Welcome to Fatso Radio. It is my pleasure to bring you another episode of Fatso Radio. It's another Friday night. Let's just get right into it, folks. For a reminder, what is Fatso Radio? Fatso Radio is a place where I want to, and I do attempt to come to you every single Friday night with what I have in mind, my weight loss journey. I've lost 110 pounds now, 120 pounds, I've gained 10 pounds back, whatever, 110, 120 pounds. I'm going to be losing a little bit more. I'm actually interesting. I want to talk about it tonight, what I've been doing. I've been running, so it's changing a little bit. But in a nutshell, folks, I've lost about 100 plus pounds on a ketogenic or carnivorous diet, a low carbohydrate, low sugar diet. So not always do I talk about this diet. Sometimes I talk about other things. Sometimes I talk about completely different things. But that's what Fatso Radio is about. I want to question things. I want to question everybody. I want to question everything. Not necessarily everybody, but I want to question everything to see what can we do differently. If something is not working for you, let's change it. If something is working for you, tell me. I want to tell everybody. All right, let's get right into it. What's new for this week? Well, last week I went back to the Sioux to visit, a quick visit, actually, kind of unannounced. Well, it was shortly announced, but kind of an unplanned visit that my brother Adam and I went up to the Sioux, up because I stay up north, up to the Sioux to visit back home. That's where my mom's from. That's where my dad's from. That's where I grew up, and I have a lot of family there. So we went there. It was great. We drove up early Friday morning. We got there around noon. It's one of those things where I didn't really sleep the day before. I was kind of doing my thing, getting ready and everything. But it was a good night. We kind of drove all night. Well, my brother drove all night, rather. We got up there, and it was great. We did a little bit of running. I did a little bit of running. I did a little bit of riding, quite a bit of riding, actually, and a lot of running for me as well. So it was good. I was able to stay with kind of my routine and what I was doing for September, my monthly gimmick, my monthly hack, or whatever it is, my monthly challenge. And it was good. So what did I do? But first of all, when we get to the Sioux, whether, years ago it was my mom that I arrived, and lately it's been my dad when I arrived. But when I arrived, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have the welcome that I do, get. So always and every time that I arrive, I just want to say thank you, and that I'm so grateful to just the kind of hospitality that I've always received. So thank you, Pa, Ma, aunts and uncles and everybody. But this time, of course, Papa, you, Otto, you know what I'm talking about. And every time we go there, thank you for welcoming us with food. Ever since I've kind of been on this carnivore kick, or even the keto kick, you've been quick to, fairly quick. I gotta say, you've been fairly quick to jump on to at least support me and say, hey, you're gonna eat meat, I'm gonna have meat for you. And that's amazing. Thank you so much. If I was on an all pasta diet, I guarantee you'll be giving me an all pasta, all sorts of pasta, different varieties and everything. So thank you so much. And you do the same thing for meat. And I really appreciate that. I know it's expensive. Thank you so much. And I know that you give a lot for me and for my family and for my brother, everybody, right? That comes and visits, and you always treat me like a king. Thank you so much. I know I'm your son, but you always do treat me like a king, and I'm so happy for that. So thank you. So, whether it's meat or whether it's salami, whether it's cheese or whatever, it's nothing. Even if it's just a hug when I come to the door, I'm always welcomed. And it's great after a long drive, to get there. And it was great. We chilled for a little bit. I went for a quick ride around, kind of like the first day I went for a quick ride around the Hub Trail. So, I'm kind of new to the whole Sault Ste. Marie Hub Trail, but I went for a quick ride around a little bit of it, just the north end of it, which is kind of a teaser for the next day, because the next day is when I was going to go for a kind of a bigger ride with my brother. So what did we do? We ran. And the run was good. The run that I did at first I ran by myself, a short run, like a 2 point something or other run. It was actually, the first one I think was with my brother. I went to my aunt's house, just in my old neighborhood. It was 2.9K. It was great. I feel good on one hand because I kept up to him, but as I'm saying, keeping up, I really just mean that I didn't drag him too far behind, or at least it wasn't noticeable how far I dragged him behind or how bad I dragged him behind. But nonetheless, it was like I said, it was 2.9K. I'm not saying that's a big number, just specifically just under 3K. And it felt good. I ran from, my dad's current house to through my old neighborhood, actually around my old neighborhood to my aunt's house, and then kind of just back. And it was great. It was good because I ran with my first time running with someone else, honestly, in years and years and years. And it was pretty good. It was a slow pace, not slow for me. It was good pace for me. It was slow for my brother, of course. He has much more experience running than I do. But it was good. We were talking a little bit. There was times we were talking during the run that he was giving me some tips, which was great. I love to get that. I love to get coached. I really do. I mean, some people don't like to get coached. I like to get coached. I may tell you you're full of shit, or I may ask you why to explain yourself or whatever, which I'm not the perfect student. I'm not the perfect athlete, I guess, from that perspective, from a student. But I'm going to ask you. So that maybe that I am a good student from that perspective. I'm going to say, well, why are we doing this or why are we doing this? Whether I'm standing up when I'm riding my bike or when I'm not sitting up, or whether I'm worrying about how I'm striking my foot, or whether I'm just not worrying about how I'm striking my foot. I'm running. I feel like I'm running like a caveman. And that's the thing. Like, I've been running for this is the 11th now, every second day on it. Today I didn't run, but I'm going to run tomorrow. So I ran half the time and I don't feel very comfortable at all. But anyway, I digress. So I ran with my brother. It was pretty good. I ran with him. It was a good chance to, like I said, since, football and I can't remember when the last time I ran with someone else. Maybe I learned the run program 10 years ago, where I did it for a month and then I quit. I did not learn to run, by the way. Mind you, those programs are good for some people, right? But I didn't learn to run. Anyway, I ran with him. It was good. Ran through our neighborhood. It was nostalgic. It was a nice day. It was freezing. It was like 6 degrees Celsius, or 7 or 8 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit, I don't even know. That's probably 10, 15. It's cold. It's cold, right? And so we were running, and it's in Northern Ontario in September, Labor Day weekend. So it's cold. And it's funny because it was cold and we were running. Didn't really feel like I'm sweating, but I know I'm working, And the minute we stopped, I just like overwhelmed by heat and sweat, and I just got drenched. It was crazy because I was like, wow, are you hot? You're sweating? My brother didn't seem too hot, but as soon as I stopped, I just started sweating. So it was a pretty good run. I didn't get hurt. I wasn't completely out of breath. The last little bit, we tried to sprint a little bit. I didn't have much left, so it wasn't much of a sprint for me, but it was my version of turning on the jets. If I'm at a 2 and I go to a 3, that's a sprint, right? So it was just a little bit more whatever I have left in me, rather. And it felt pretty good. And it was good. We did that. The next day we ran, and then I did a run by myself as well with the next day, which was good. And it is a big deal. How do I say this? It is a big deal that I kept up, right? It's a big deal for me that I ran one day with Adam, and then I biked the next day, and then the next day that I was supposed to run again, because I'm trying to do a one-on, one-off day, right? My pattern. I'm trying to do my schedule of one day run, one day not run, one day run, one day not run. And the fact that I ran, and then I biked the next day, and then I ran again the second day after, my fastest run actually was with Adam. So although I taxed myself the day before more than I did the day before that. Anyway, I'm glad that I came back and did that second day of running, because in the past, that's where I've oftentimes struggled, right? If I pushed myself a little bit, like everybody else, I'm sure, but sometimes if you push yourself a little bit more than you did before, you sometimes that risk where like, oh man, I don't know if somebody's gonna bail, or I don't know if they're gonna kind of quit and essentially tap out. And I'm glad that I didn't tap out. Now, mind you, it's a slow, gradual learn, right? It's I just kind of assumed, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I assumed that, I start with like 1 or 2K and go up to 3K, 4K, 5K very easily. And I think I might be stuck at 3K for a while, which is good because 3K is better than 0K, right? It's way better than 0K, but I'm really happy because I got back out there. I'm really happy because I got back out there. And it was fun, right? The first day bike, so that's running, right? I didn't run a whole lot there, but like I said, 2 times, it was very productive. Once with my brother because it was good to see a different person's pace, got to see what it would be like to try and have a conversation, not just listening to my music. And on the second day, like I said, or the third day rather, but my second day running, it was good to see what I could come back again and bring back to the table, bring back to the game. Like, hey, you're tired, you're sore, yep, and in fact, you're kind of tired because you ran more than you did before, and you even had a big bike. So, and Adam, even when we're riding, he puts me at a pretty good pace because he's in good shape, so he wants to push, and he challenges himself. So the biking was great. The first day was a very small portion of that hub trail. And I gotta say something about the hub trail in Sault Ste. Marie, guys. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I know it's probably been around for maybe 10 years or maybe even more. So people that in the Sioux, you probably are thinking, well, were you just born yesterday? This hub trail has been around for a long time. And I guess it has been around for a long time, but regardless of when it was built, great job. It's amazing. It's fun. It's cool because it's fairly easy to get around rather. The signage is pretty good on most spots. There's a couple spots you kind of have to just kind of guess, or maybe know the area, know where you might end up, or maybe I took a wrong path and maybe there was a more clear path. Regardless, we got around it, and it was pretty good. It wasn't too bad. We didn't have to cross we did cross a couple major roads, but it was pretty well assigned. Like I said, there's lights and crosswalks and everything, crosswalks rather. Even for the bikes, there's spots where you can easily press the button. So it was pretty good, and it's clear now to me that if you want to ride your bike, you can ride your bike anywhere. You can ride in Sault Ste. Marie, you can ride it here in Kitchener-Waterloo. There's bike paths everywhere. There's bike lanes everywhere. Even in Sault Ste. Marie, I'm very surprised there's permanent bike lanes in places, which is amazing. There were never bike lanes when I was a kid, right? There's probably never bike lanes here in Kitchener-Waterloo, when I was a kid either, but it's nice to see that there are more bike lanes. And, for the people who are complaining about the bike lanes being here, whether they're temporary or not, I get that too. There's both sides of it. I'm on the side that I love those bike lanes, right? I get to use them. I get to take advantage of it. I'm not even driving my car that much. It's great. But on the other side, I get it that it's a pain in the butt. I get it. It's a nuisance to traffic. It's blocking up traffic. I'm not sure the rationale behind making them COVID. I'm not sure how making the lanes in town are there to support COVID or COVID relief. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they're hoping that people would ride, or maybe it's giving more rider space so they're not riding in single file. But I don't pass people on the road very often, and I ride almost in August. I rode every day, and I passed one person a week, right? And it's usually going the opposite way, right, on the other side of the street. I didn't really pass that many people, and I'm not super fast, so it's not like I'm just blazing through. So I don't really know. Maybe in the dead of the summer, or maybe the earlier the summer, May, June, July, maybe there was more traffic. But I rode a lot in August. Like I said, I got like 200 or 600 rather in some kilometers, and I didn't see that many bikers on the road. But maybe they're that efficient that it thinned out the traffic so much. I don't know. But anyway, that's what I was doing. So riding, it was a good ride. Like I said, it was good. I rode with Adam. We rode mostly it was just paths, so paved road. It was pretty easy. We didn't get into much trails at all area, but it was fun. It was good. And it was my first time really experiencing that loop, or at least the most of that loop, that the hub trail in Sault Ste. Marie. So in the past, I've been for a walk or by Scotty's house. Scotty, big shout out to you, buddy. There's a hub trail you can get around there. And then I rode, like I said, the day before, or 2 days before, or even a day before, whatever that was, I rode a portion of the hub trail up to Fort Creek. So Fort Creek in Sault Ste. Marie is this wooded area where there's creek, obviously. There's bridges you can cross, walking bridges, you can ride your bike through them. And it's pretty fun. I didn't get any pictures, I don't think, but I don't know. It was a lot of fun, and it was cool. So running and biking was good. I got my exercise on. It was important for me to keep that up because, like I said in the past, or like I said, I've been the guy to fall off, right? I've been the guy to fall off track quite often, and something like a vacation, or something like, just going to visit your dad and your mom and your aunts and your uncles rather, or your family, your extended family, your cousins, something like that is easy to kind of get off track. but I'm realizing now that there's really no excuse if you really want it, right? If you're really driven. Funny, I had a quick conversation with my sister yesterday, Marianne. I love you, Mary, about just kind of the nuanced difference between something like motivation and being driven, right? Or a goal or a drive to do something, or motivation to do something. And it's quite different. I've heard, I don't know who said it, but motivation sometimes is fleeting, comes and goes, but if you have a drive to do something, if you have a goal, if you have something that's pushing you, drive rather, is something pushing you, whether you need to change or you need to do something for a purpose, that's much more powerful than a motivation. But motivation is good and inspiration is good. So sorry, I just got a little mosquito over here. Ooh, it's that time of the year, folks. So motivation, inspiration, all that stuff. But whatever it is, I'd say find your drive, find what drives you. Not to get off on a tangent too much, but motivation is great. If my videos help you, if certain songs help you, certain things inspire you, certain people you want to listen to are great, that's amazing, right? But find what drives you, what's going to keep driving you forward to get to that goal, to get to the place where you want to be. Okay, so what else? Biked, I ran, right? Had a visit, a kind of a surprise visit with Meet the Butcher, Supreme Cup. So Nick, peace out. Not peace out. Shout out to Nick. Peace. I love you, brother. Here's a toque there Nick gave me. So my dad and I, Otto, love you, Pa. We swung by. I saw him. I'm like, what's Nick up to? Maybe we'll swing by and see what he's up to over at Meet Your Butcher, Supreme Cuts. So I went over there. We just happened to walk in there with our mask on, and he recognized me right away. Nick, he was like, big eyes. I can see his kind of bright eyes there. Recognized me, and then within a couple of seconds we were chatting, and it was so great. I've chatted with you a couple of times, Nick, through with Christy as well, over the podcast and on YouTube, and it's just like before. Thanks so much. It's my pleasure to see you. Took me for a cool tour around. You got an amazing space there, folks. If you haven't been down to Meet the Butcher, Supreme Cuts, you got to check them out. Check them out. Go see Nick. Ask him to show him around. Even he'll give you a tour. It's amazing. You got a really great open space there, Nick. I love what you're doing. I love how you're doing it. You're cutting meat right in front of people. You're preparing your stuff right in front of people. I love that, and I love that it's open. I love that it's clean. It's bright, and I like how you're doing things the old-fashioned way. Like we were talking, and when we were talking there, Nick reminded me how certain things that he does there. It's very practical, and he doesn't waste. He'll use this part for this portion. He'll reuse this portion for this portion. Not reuse, rather, but use the best portions of everything. Because oftentimes people don't realize that when you have whether it's a side of beef or whether it's a whole chicken, or whether it's a whole turkey or whether it's a whole pig, most people don't eat nose to tail, right? And we touched on this quickly or briefly with Nick and I, but butchers always have. Butchers always have, and this is where sausages come from, and it gets me into the whole idea, or the whole kind of what's reminding me when I go back to the Sioux. Because when I go back to the Sioux, I always think roots. Sure, not everybody does things the way they used to. Sure, people aren't stomping on their feet with the grapes. I know, but it's the process and the methodology that is. I'm reminded of the process. I'm reminded of the methodology and even the philosophy of it. And Nick mentioned too. He's like, Carter, when I cure sausages, maybe I'm putting pepper and salt. That's it. Or it's just salt. If you want it spicy, it's pepper, chili, whatever. And it's different. And when you eat that meat, and I had some, and it's different, that there's none of that crap in it, folks. You're not putting 37 ingredients in there. You're not putting all this wet ingredients and all this different stuff that can go bad. So then you have to add all these other nitrates and all these other crap. You don't have to do that. So he reminded me, and it's a good reminder to me every time I go back to the Sioux, how we did it. How the old-fashioned way we did it. And I saw Nick doing it. I see the rabbits there. I see the turkeys there. He's telling me what he's doing, how many turkeys he's boning, how many chickens he's boning. And it's amazing. Wild game season's coming up, and the butchers and the hunters go to him, right? And I tell you, if you're a hunter and you're in the Sioux and you need someone to bring your game, go see Nick. Go talk to him and see what it's like. And he'll even explain to you what he's doing. One of the things I love about you, Nick, and what you're doing there is that you're going to explain, you want to educate people. We talked briefly about having or the opportunity you had kind of in the past, and maybe you'll be revisiting it again, about becoming some sort of a learning institution, instructional institution for people to learn how to cut meat and all this stuff. And even with without doing that, your philosophy, I really like what your philosophy. And even just every time you talk to me, you're like, hey, Carlos, I'm doing this because look what I have with this product, look what I have with this product, and all of that. So I really like that. It reminds me of the practicality of it. It reminds me of the not wasting part of it. And then, it was a great visit, Nick. So thank you so much. Thanks for the toque. It's great. And then, it was awesome to kind of connect with my dad and you as well. It turns out that we're basically paisanos, or probably even related if we go back far enough. But so his family's from the same part of Italy that my dad's from, really from the same town that my dad's from. We have relatives in Italy that are still there, still related to him probably. The same last name, from the same town, really just buildings in kind of neighborhoods and communities right beside each other. So saluto paisano. And, thanks, Nick, for the tour. It was awesome. And kind of on a tangent here, but it's reminded me of all the things I love about going back to Sioux. And one of the things that was reminding me this time when I go back to Sioux, and I didn't quite see it because I didn't catch the right weekend, but I was making tomatoes. And anybody that's probably from Sault Ste. Marie, anybody's Canadian Italian or even American Italian, you might say, oh my God, that phrase making tomatoes sounds funny. It might sound familiar to you, but really essentially you're preparing your tomato base, right? It's a sauce, but it's a very simple tomato base, right? It's like basically a tomato, and I don't even know if it's just just tomato sauce with a little bit of basil or whatever you put in it. And then a lot of times people just use that for sauce, or you can make that into different sauce or bolognese or whatever you want. But it's like a traditional thing around this time of year, harvest season, right? It makes sense, tomatoes. Now keep in mind, tomatoes don't come from Europe, right? So this is definitely a North American thing, adopted over here and then brought over there and then re-brought back with immigration rather. But it's funny, the process. In the process, it has reminded me, or going through the process and seeing the pictures and all of that, excuse me, it has reminded me of some things I've learned along the way over the last couple of years about nutrition, some things that we've kind of maybe taken for granted as well. And the first thing is that when you were making tomatoes, but when we're basically processing tomatoes and making it into sauce, right? It's basically, we're canning this sauce, right? Or this fruit. Tomatoes are fruit, right? So what are we doing, folks? We're peeling the tomato. We don't want the peel in there. You're either peeling it by hand, right? Or you're boiling a little bit just to help get the peel off a little bit. And you're scoring it. So what you want to do is when you're processing, whether you're doing it through a mill, because there's a tomato mill, I believe it's called a tomato press, whatever you want to call it. What you're doing is basically processing or is pressing these tomatoes through a mill, right? Pressing out, getting the juice and whatever flesh is coming out, but it's separating the seeds and the skin. Okay. Why are we separating the seeds and the skin? Some people just may say they're separating the seeds and the skin because they don't like the taste of it. They roll up in these tiny little torpedo-like things and they're disgusting. They stick in your teeth. Sure, that's probably it too. And the seeds as well, they're bitter. They stuck in your teeth. You don't want the seeds, whatever. Sure. There's also another reason why we're doing it. We may not know offhand what we're doing, but it may make sense. The skins of tomatoes have lectins, right? Excuse me. Lectins are proteins. Lectins are proteins that can give people problems. They really can. When there's a lot of them, if they're in an environment where maybe in an unhealthy environment, maybe I'm in a state where I'm unhealthy because of something else, and then I have kind of an overload or my load of toxins that I'm eating, or lectins rather, that I'm eating, causes a problem. But essentially what it can cause for some people is a leaky gut, right? Gut permeability. Folks, it's not an imaginary thing. Leaky gut isn't some foo-foo thing that we thought of 15 years, or the foo-foo people or the medical people thought of 15 years ago, and it's made up. It's not made up. Gut permeability, it's a thing. The gut is permeable sometimes. Certain things that you eat can get through the gut lining, and you don't want it to get through the gut lining. Lectins are one of these things. There's lectins in the seeds. There's lectins in the skins of tomatoes. So I'm not shitting on you for eating tomatoes. I'm explaining why we remove the skins and the seeds. If I was going to start eating tomatoes every day, again, I would say I probably ate tomatoes every day for a long, long time. I would definitely make sure I got rid of the skins and got rid of the seeds. And probably for the most part of my life, I did. Now, when I got a little bit older, and then I noticed, actually looking back, I noticed the novelty of eating tomatoes, sliced tomatoes. Seems like something that's fairly new. I don't think I always remember that. However, maybe the whole tomato and salad, caprese salad thing, maybe that's been around. But I wonder if there's more nuance to that. I wonder if somewhere down the road, those were actually peeled. But anyway, if I were to eat tomatoes tomorrow and start going on a tomato diet, I would have them without the seeds and without the skins because of that lectin. It's a nightshade. A tomato's a nightshade, and it has lectins in it, and it gives some people problems. Like peppers, right? Bell peppers give people problems. They have lectins in the nightshades, and as well eggplants. Not for everybody, and it makes sense why we process them, right? Again, without going on too much of a tangent, when we process peppers, when we roast peppers, I'm gonna say we, but Italian people, European people, anybody who roasts peppers, not just Italian people, not just European people, anybody who loves peppers, which is probably most of the world, because peppers are delicious and they're eaten all over the world. Paprika comes from peppers, right? When you roast a pepper, if you've ever had that traditional dish from all over the world, but specifically Italian, a roasted peppers in oil and garlic, a little bit of, whether it's parsley or what have you, it's in this oil. It's delicious. It's basically the most delicious thing in the world. But those peppers are roasted. Oftentimes they're charred on a barbecue, right? Burnt on the outside even. And then, kind of put it in a nice bath. And what you want to do is you want to separate that skin. Why? Why do we want to separate the skin? Because it gets stuck in your teeth, and because it has no taste and probably no nutritional value. In fact, we're learning it has toxins. Maybe they knew subconsciously, maybe people had diarrhea. Maybe it gave people the shits if they ate too many peppers without it being peeled. Maybe. I bet there's some truth to that. A lot of just think of how many plants we eat today. Think of the likelihood, or think of the process of the trial and error. You have to try out all these different foods to see what would kill you and what wouldn't kill you. And the idea of just the knowledge of learning that it's better for you to roast these peppers, that blows my mind. So anyway, roasting peppers, same idea, right? Roasting peppers, you take the peel out because you roast it. You peel after it gets cold. Same as the seeds. Inside the seeds, the flesh gets very soft. With a pepper, it's a lot stronger than a tomato, right? And then you can still slice it and put it in olive or oil, any kind of oil rather. Olive oil is the best, probably, or avocado maybe. Some salt, boom, there you go. It's like an appetizer. It's very common. Eggplants as well. Why are they peeled? Maybe people don't like the eggplant peel. Why is it rubbery? Sure, something else too. Maybe it's the fact that it's a nightshade and it gives people problems. I don't know, right? These are things that make sense to me. Every time I'm seeing in the last couple of years when I see this tomato process in the Sioux and I see pictures online, I'm like, I can smell the tomatoes through the online photos, and I love it. I'm not going to give anybody shit. I love it, folks. It's the best, and that's the way to do it. If I were to do it again, if I were to eat tomatoes on a regular basis, that's the way to do it. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure why, but they figured it out. Maybe it's both ways. Maybe because physically they know something, but also the taste, and maybe they're connected somehow. The other thing that I'm always reminded of is sausage, and I talked about that briefly with Nick about something like making sausages, whether it's beef, pork, lamb, chicken, turkey. You can make sausage out of any meat in the world. All you need is a casing and ground up meat, right? So think of the first humans or Neanderthals or whatever we were at the time that realized we could have meat in a casing, whether just to eat it fresh. I mean, we probably ate it fresh even more recent maybe than the whole curing idea, but the idea that you can put meat into a casing and leave it there, right? And cure it, and it'll be good to eat later. Like, holy cow, what a gold mine, that we stumble into. Or it was the opposite. Did we just evolve to eat that because we were eating that to survive, right? Is it just, many, many different kind of trains of thought. One idea is that, we evolved eating these things, and this is why we still eat them, because we had to eat those to evolve. Or the other idea maybe is that, we evolved to now we shaped our food to affect us. It's probably more, and if I had to guess, I don't know, but it's probably more that our food shaped us, right? What was around, right? When there was times that there was no meat, I can't think of a time when there was probably no animals, but I can think of a time where there was little animals, and definitely winter is the time that I can think about it, or times where the herd is just not there or whatever, and living off of small animals is difficult. I can think of times where catching a rabbit might not have been that easy, or catching partridge or other birds might not be that easy. They didn't have guns, right? You're not shooting bow and arrows in the air all day long. I don't think you are anyway. You're not shooting arrows rather into the air all day long. But big animals are easy to find. Big animals are slower usually, right? You can hunt them in groups, and they feed a lot more people. So I imagine that there were times where we didn't have that much meat, and that's probably where we got into eating more and more plants. I don't think it's the opposite. I don't think we started eating plants necessarily. Well, maybe we started way back when, but I think that once we started scavenging, once we started eating animals, and once we started hunting, that's probably the biggest thing. Once we started hunting, right, that's when we got the taste for animals, and that's when we got the taste for meat. And I think we got the benefit from that. It's on record to suggest that our brain literally doubled in size once we started eating meat, once we started hunting. There's even evidence to suggest that once we started cooking that meat, became more nutrient dense. But who knows? Maybe it's a reverse option. Maybe at the same time we started cooking that meat, we started cooking plants as well. And cooking plants detoxifies those plants in a lot of ways and a lot of times. So maybe it's just more palatable, not more palatable, more digestible to us and friendlier to our digestive system. And that's one of the things that I often don't talk about, but I think people don't, or I do sometimes talk about, but I don't think people realize it very often. There are a lot of plants that give people a lot of problems, folks. And I don't just say plants, but I want to say food. There's a lot of food that you would call regular food on a regular basis, whether it's fruit or vegetables or grains or beans, legumes. There's a lot of that food that give people problems on a regular basis, right? If you're gluten sensitive, there's one thing. If you are sensitive to certain plants, nightshades, for example, that's another thing, right? Well, let's talk about this. If you're type 2 diabetic, are you glucose sensitive? Are you? I mean, I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm not trying to blame anybody because I am super glucose sensitive, right? I'm not diabetic, but I'm insulin resistant. I'm pretty sure I'm still insulin resistant because it's not completely normal. Like, it's not completely perfect, my insulin response, right? I think it's gotten much better over the years, but I definitely have a response. I definitely have a delayed response based off certain things I eat as well. But it's a problem with glucose. That's what diabetes is, right? Type 2 diabetes. I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And folks, good time to remind everybody, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not telling you what to do. But what I am telling you to do is to investigate, to dig, research, talk to your doctor, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, right? I got off a little bit of a tangent here, but I was reminded as well, I'll go back again, about the sausages, about how we made them from scratch, how people are still making them from scratch. Just because you can buy a bag of garbage from the store and it have Ziller's name on it or Mimmer's name on it or whatever the company's name on it, just because they make a product that you think is garbage, right? Or somebody else may think it's garbage, it doesn't mean you have to eat that product. It doesn't mean that all meat is bad. It doesn't mean that all sausage is bad. It doesn't mean that all processed food is bad. It doesn't mean that at all. There's nuance, folks. And that's one of the things that we have to really look into, aside from nutrition, just in general these days. It's not so simple. Everything is not so cut and dry. We want black and white. We want black and white because we want to know what to do, a 0 or a 1. And it's not always like that, right? There's some things that are good at certain times, but I don't believe that things that are bad are ever good, right? What I mean is I don't think that certain things that are bad are really ever healthy for you. And I don't even say specifically not in moderation, but I don't even think ever. Now, it's not to say that I'm not going to have something, or it's not to say that I don't understand why people have something. Here's an example. Snickers aren't good for you. They're never good for you. Is there ever a time where I'm going to suggest you to have a Snicker? Nope, never. That doesn't mean that you can't have a Snicker. It doesn't mean that you can't be super healthy and have a Snicker. It just means that why the hell would I suggest you eating a Snicker? That's all it means. It just means I'm not going to suggest you have a Snicker. You know damn well how to find junk food if you need it. You know how to find that cheat food if you need it. So I'm not going to suggest what cheat food you eat. Don't eat cheat food. If you're going to eat something that you think is as least as cheat as possible, and then help your ass get back, right? That's all it is, right? Okay, so let's go. Don't go to tangent. The sausages, I'm reminded to eat the sausages. I'm reminded, and to go back to the organs, right? Folks, we ate organs. Your grandparents, your parents maybe even, and maybe even you if you're lucky, you eat organs, and they ate organs. We're here. I truly believe we're here because we ate those organs, and we found ways to incorporate those organs into our life for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I think that only within the last couple hundred years, probably within the last 100 years, we started really, really going away from the real foods, right? Everybody's got a recipe for liver in their cookbook, or their grandmother, or their grandmother, or their grandfather rather, or their mother, or their father even. Everybody's got a recipe for that. And if you don't know what the recipe is, ask your grandparents, ask your father, ask your mother, because it's a good idea. It's healthy, right? Iron, protein, fat, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C. Folks, there's vitamin C in liver. The debate is still out on how much vitamin C you really need, but there's vitamin C in it, so have some, right? So that's it, folks. Do things the natural way, and it was a great reminder again to Nick. So check out Nick and the family at Beat the Butcher. Sue Prime Cuts on White Oak Drive, and like I said, it's a great reminder to go back home. And it's not just sausage, it's not just tomatoes, right? It's everybody. It's whether they're making anything you do homemade, right? If you're canning like the Italians, my Italian family do the giardinieri, right? So it's like pickled vegetables, right? And it's or like it's under vinegar, right? So it's basically it's pickled. Yeah, I don't know why I'm having a hard time with that. It's pickled vegetables, anything from onions to carrots to radishes to whatever. Even like cherries growing up, we did rum cherries, a bunch of cherries, a bunch of rum. Those cherries, set them aside and forget about it. And then you have some and you have five and you forget about it. All that stuff, right? Everything from carrots. Like I grew up eating like the giardinieri. Like I said, my dad made it. Oh my God, it was so good. The carrot, I can still taste it, like the crunch, the acidic, the fermenting, right? It's amazing. All of that stuff. And even if you're talking about jams and you're talking about preserves that I'm going to say has a lot of sugar, whatever, I'm not going to give you shit for it. It's better. It's the best way to do it. Even homemade bread, right? We're talking about lockdown again back a couple weeks ago about all the things that people were doing. Eating homemade bread is way better for you than store-bought bread in most cases, unless you have this store that makes the healthiest bread in the world and I've never heard of, unless you're buying bread from my sister Mariana, which you should check her out. But really that's it. So what else do I want to talk about, folks? I want to talk about going back home and reminding me, just to recap rather, going back home reminding me of the tomatoes, the sausages, the canning, the drying. Oh yeah, drying, I want to get into that again. Drying and salting and curing, like I said, bacala years ago or weeks ago or months ago, I've talked about bacala, salted codfish, right? And just the last thing to wrap it up again, these are things that we're still doing today. And we need to hold on to these things because these things, they're making a comeback, not just because they're chic or not just because it's trendy. They're making a comeback because I believe it's among the healthiest food in the world. It's making a comeback and it's still around and I'm going to promote it and I'm going to try and live my life basically being the poster child for all these food because it really is the way to do it. I truly believe that. For me, I'll tell you why. It's because when I turned away from all that other food and I went to this dramatically changed my life. It started with the grains and the pastas and all that shit, but then it went to most of the plants. Right? There's still some plants that don't bother me at all. They don't bother me, but just because they don't bother me, it doesn't mean I want it part of my regular diet, right? It also has to taste good. It also has to satisfy a need that I have. One of the things that has changed with me over the time with my relationship with food, and people, excuse me, your language, but fuck. When I used to hear people say that you got to change your relationship with food, you can't think of it as a stimulant. You can't think of it as entertainment. You have to just think of it as food. Well, you know what? How do you do that? You tell me. I'll give you 2 minutes. How do you do it? You can, but you can't do it if you're eating a lot of sugar. Or if you do it with a lot of sugar, you're literally going to have to lock yourself away from food for maybe 20 hours a day. I don't know. And then eat a couple hours, if that, or eat a half an hour, and then lock yourself away from food for the rest of the time, and then exercise your heart out. Maybe not everybody has to do that extreme, but I really feel like that's the most common way to succeed on a high carbohydrate diet. Even a moderately high carbohydrate diet, which is still in my eyes a high, but someone's probably going to say moderately high is maybe a couple hundred grams of carbs a day. Some people, it's on a high carbohydrate diet, maybe 300, 400 grams of carbs a day, 500. That's a pound of carbohydrate a day, folks. You're talking 454 grams in a pound. There are people that eat well over a pound of carbohydrate a day. That's a pound of sugar. Pound of sugar. What would you rather eat, a pound of sugar or a pound of meat? It's not exactly sugar, but it turns out to be sugar. It turns out to be sugar, right? In your body. Your body doesn't say, hey, I saw your intention there. You intended to eat 454 grams of whole wheat, heart healthy, whatever the hell the guy told you was in it, that's what you intended on eating. Oh, okay. But what you ate was 454 grams, maybe after all is said and done, maybe 200-300 grams of pure glucose. I have no idea. These are just speculation. But I'm telling you what you're not eating. You're not eating 454 grams of meat, which is going to be maybe 60%, I don't even know, maybe 50-50, maybe 60-40 fat. You're going to get calories, energy, right? Good energy, clean energy. Remember, fat is a clean energy, folks. Saturated fat, animal fat. Let me say animal fat, not even just saturated fat. Animal fat has saturated fat and unsaturated fat. It's not just saturated, right? It's not. So animal fat, energy, with that energy comes animal fat, comes all the vitamins, those fat soluble vitamins, A, D, K, I don't know, E, A, D, E, K, yeah. Vitamin D, we talk about every day. What do we need? We need vitamin D, we need to go outside. Fat soluble vitamins, you need fat in order to dissolve, right? To make these vitamins soluble, or to dissolve in order to use these vitamins. If you don't have the fat soluble, if you don't have fat, if you don't have enough fat, how are you going to dissolve this energy? How are you going to dissolve these vitamins rather, and how are you going to use them? Protein, the other portion of meat. And I sent out a meme, or I re-forwarded a meme today. It's like, people think that meat is just protein and fat, but it's not. It has all of these vitamins in there, has all these minerals in there, zinc, copper, selenium, all the B vitamins, right? It even has a little bit of vitamin C. Like there's a lot of things in beef and red meat, much more than just protein. On top of that, it's the most bioavailable protein, right? The most bioavailable protein in the world. So don't get too far off. Without getting too far off, I want to switch a little gears here, folks. I want to switch to back to school. Back to school. Did I wrap that up enough? I think I wrapped that up enough. I had a nice visit to the zoo. It was great to see everybody. Before I go further, before I get back to the school, I want to give a shout out to Paul. Kachi, baby. I call you Skinny. You call me Skinny. I love you, brother. I've known you since, well, we say sperm because we've known each other before we were born. Our dads were best friends since before we were born. And they've been, like I said, they've known each other forever. They grew up together in Sault Ste. Marie, downtown, old downtown Sault Ste. Marie. So, Koch, I had an opportunity to swing by and see you, Paul. Telling everybody, I guess you knew that already. With that, it was a great visit. I'm glad to see you, buddy. And you're looking good, Skinny. Paul and I have always called each other Skinny. It's been kind of an on-running joke, or Koch and I, whatever you want to call you, buddy. But we've been calling each other Skinny for years and years and years. It probably started when he was actually thin and I was really heavy. I was high 200s in high school, right? And he was like, Paul, Koch, I want to say you're probably not even 200, right? When you graduate, I would say you maybe even, if I had to guess, 180 maybe. Always athletic and everything, but nonetheless, it's been this running joke as the years goes on. It's always called me Skinny. And the thing is, because I love Koch like a brother, I don't care. He can call me anything. Just don't call me late for dinner. But so it's been always Skinny, 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 Skinny. Even one time online, a couple years ago, I called him Skinny and someone defended him. And they're like, hey, no problem. And someone he called me Skinny once and someone got offended. I'm like, no, we call each other Skinny. It's just what we do. Anyway, Skinny, it was great to see you. You are looking good, my brother. You're looking good. You seem to, first of all, you seem to understand this. And I'm not surprised you understand this because you're a smart guy. And I like that you understand it. And I like that in your own way, you are spreading the word as well, because you're right. It's your education. And that's just the way to do it. You have everybody, you have your own philosophy, you have your own methodology that works at certain times. When you want to kick it on, you do this. When you want to live, you do that. And that's great, dude. I love that you're doing that, and keep up the good work. I'm here, and everybody in this community seems to be here. If you're in the keto space, or you're in the carnivore space, and you want to help, and you need help, or you need help rather, let me know. fatsoradio@gmail.com. Hit me up on the Facebook page. Hit me up on Instagram, Fatso Radio. On Twitter, I'm Radio Fatso. And yeah, just to wrap it up, Koch's Corner. I think you're on East Street, maybe? I don't know. Easton Queen. Anyway, Koch, I love you, brother. It was great to see you. So, okay, back to school, folks. What are we going to do for back to school? I know it's scary. I know it's scary because we really don't know what's going on, the numbers, the COVID, and all this stuff. So I'm not going to talk too much about COVID because I'm not an expert. Not that I'm an expert in anything else I talk about, but I'm not going to talk too much on COVID because I don't know where I'm going to go with it. All I know is that I'm as healthy as I was before the pandemic, and I plan to be as healthy, if not healthier, in the future. I'm doing the same things I did before the pandemic. I haven't gained weight. I haven't gone to the shitter as far as my health. Sure, I've had times where I've cheated and I've had desserts and I've had other stuff that I would normally consider shit. Not normally, but just what I consider shit. So I'm living life normally. I've never been 100% compliant for any substantial amount of time, right? I'm human. But I don't, and I'm not trying to shit on people, because the minute I mention fear, I think a lot of people get defensive and they think that, well, hey, just because I'm trying to be safe doesn't mean I'm afraid. And I want to talk about that for a second, because if you're afraid, you're not alone. If you're afraid of this, you're not alone. I don't know many people who aren't afraid of this, right? But what a lot of people are afraid of is that our fear can overwhelm us and overtake us, and cloud our judgment and make us think about things and make us act in certain ways that we normally wouldn't, right? Fear can do that to you. Fear can make you challenge people who you normally would trust, because this idea, maybe the idea of fear is greater than your trust for them. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying people are too afraid. I'm not saying people are not afraid enough. And I don't think people should be shaming people for either way, right? Is it right for me to make fun of you because you want to wear a mask? No. Is it right for you to make fun of me because I don't want to wear a mask? No. In fact, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot more shaming of people not wanting to wear a mask, or even shaming people for just questioning. I see a lot of that. When I see a lot of people giving other people shit for questioning stuff, that makes me worried. That makes me worried because the same people oftentimes are the ones who then, in other topics, say, hey, what are we doing? We're just following suit. So if you're someone who likes to question things, maybe it's a good idea to question a little bit of everything. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to wear a mask. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to stay socially distant. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying, though, is that I don't think that people should be shaming you into making you feel bad for how you feel, right? Especially if how you feel was acceptable a couple months ago, right? Under normal circumstances, right? And I'm not trying to put any statistics out there. I'm not trying to say who's right or who's wrong, but all I'm saying is that I feel the damage that fear is doing out there. And if you have there must be people that feel it like I do. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I can feel it. Maybe it's my own fear, but I'm actually trying my damnedest not to be afraid. I'm trying to use as much information as I can, but at the same time, I understand that it's bombarding and it's overwhelming for all the information out there. But I'm trying to use my own common sense, right? Remember, if certain things made sense logically up till December, up till January, February of last year, those same principles, the same principles of physics and science and math are going to hold true today, right? I'm not saying everybody's wrong. I'm not saying anybody's wrong, but I'm saying let's not forget what we've learned in the past just because something is very fearful today, or something is very scary today, right? A lot of the fear that I see, or a lot of the instructions, or a lot of the notices and advice that I see on TV comes across almost like an advertisement for fear. Maybe it's just maybe I'm sensitive to fear. Maybe I've been afraid a lot in my life, so I know when I see it. I'm afraid, folks. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of this friggin' virus. I'm afraid of dying. Aren't you? I don't know. I'm afraid of my kids getting hurt, my loved ones getting hurt, anybody. I'm afraid of all of this stuff, right? But I'm not afraid to live. I'm not afraid to live. I'm not. I'm trying my damnedest to be less and less afraid to live as time goes on. So I am afraid of the virus, and I do wear a mask, and I think you should wear a mask as well. If they tell us tomorrow that we don't have to wear masks anymore, it'll make sense. And if you still wanted to wear a mask up until that, you're okay as well. And it'll still make sense to you, right? The thing is, as time goes on, right, no one's ever going to say, yeah, we were too afraid. We took over precautions. That's okay. No one ever has to say that. It doesn't mean that every action was just. It doesn't mean that being overcautious, or even taking measures that may not have been the best measures. It doesn't mean that those measures or those actions are benign. It doesn't mean that there's no damage possibly behind that. And it doesn't mean that there's no collateral damage or unintended consequences, right? So fear traps you. It's trapped me, and I can only speak from experience. It's trapped me for a long time, right? To do things that I can do now. I could have done them before, but I was afraid. Afraid what people think, afraid what people say, afraid what how I look, afraid of failing, right? The fear of everything. And I know why people are afraid of this, because they're afraid of their loved ones getting sick. And they're afraid of their loved ones getting sick, and they're afraid of feeling guilt towards it. You're afraid of you being the one that's going to cause someone to get sick, right? I don't know if it's good for us to have that guilt. I don't really think it is good for us to have that guilt. We don't have guilt for other portions of our life. We don't have guilt when your best friend's a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic, and you help him eat sugar and drink beer all your life. Or your buddy's an alcoholic and you drink beer with him for 20 years. You don't feel guilty towards that. Do you? I don't know. Maybe you do. I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm just posing these questions because I really want people to think about what it's like. Be safe, use smart judgment, right? Be safe, use smart judgment, follow the protocols. I'm not saying go out there and have a protest against wearing a mask. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I'm also not saying that we should be shaming people. We shouldn't shame people, right? We certainly shouldn't shame people, because tomorrow you could be wrong. And what happens when when that shame comes around and now you're the one that's being shamed, right? It's the same with anything else. It's the same with being a zealot on anything. I've been accused of being a zealot, and I've been a zealot, and I can still be a zealot today on certain things, right? Perfect example is sugar. I shit on sugar a lot. I shit on it, right? Can the science come around tomorrow and prove that sugar is great and fat's good? It could. And will I be dead wrong? Yep, I'll be dead wrong. But I'll also have to change. I also screw with my mind, because I'll have to figure out how I felt better. Chances are we're not going to come out tomorrow and realize that soda is good for you, and high fructose corn syrup is good for you, and sugar is good for you at this ultra processed level. We're not going to. It's just not going. It's not going to make that leap, right? But that's the thing. Even if we realize we were we were a little bit hypochondriac, or we were excited, or we did a little bit too much. Saving lives is it's easy for someone to say, well, yes, at least we saved lives. At least we prevented death. If I could prevent one death, but that logic falls apart in a second, folks. Falls apart in a second. None of the things we do is meant to save every single life. It's not. It's just not. Every winter, we can't take precautions to save every single life from the flu, from other diseases, right? People die every single year. And I'm not saying that COVID deaths are less valuable than those deaths, but they're not more valuable than those deaths either, right? So I just want you to look, to take a step back, to have perspective, right? And to look at things like death, maybe. And just to talk a little bit more, or to sum this up on the whole COVID thing, I think things like death rates, ICU rates are a better metric to look at rather than cases, rather than positives. Simple fact, I've heard from the government of Ontario and the government of Canada, 50% false positive. The government of BC was talking about as well. 50% false positives rate. Folks, you have a test that has a 50% false positive rate. What are you doing with that data? Are you making policy on that data? If I challenge that data, if I challenge that policy or that suggestion or that advice based off of logic, then am I an asshole? Do I not care about my fellow man, my fellow woman? That's not true. I do care about my fellow man. I do care about my fellow woman. I care about the sovereignty of them. I care about their freedom. I care about their health as well, right? The freedom of their health, right? People oftentimes forget that health is in our hands. It's not in the government's hands. The government doesn't keep you healthy. I'm sorry, the government doesn't keep you healthy. If you don't keep yourself healthy to a point where you get sick, I'm not trying to smile, but I'm not trying to laugh about this, but it's connecting the dots in my mind. And I've done it, right? If you get to the point where you let yourself get unhealthy, then the government has to step in and make you healthy. But they don't really make you healthy. They just put Band-Aids on it, literally. Or they cut it out, then put a Band-Aid in it. Or they give you drugs to mask something that's wrong, right? That causes more problems. Anybody, and you can ask around, please do ask around, anybody who's found their health, anybody who's found their fitness, anybody who's found their second lease on life has done it themselves. Help from their friends, help from their family, help from a guru, spiritual or fitness or what however wise, but they found it because they searched and they did it themselves. The government is not going to help you. The government's not going to help you. The government's not going to save you. The government might help you, right? They might help you, but they're not going to keep you healthy. They're not going to keep you safe. Family and community keep you safe, keep you healthy. And as far as real health, right? Your real health comes from your immunity. Real health. I'm talking about real viral, bacterial, environmental defense, right? Biological defense comes from your immune system. What is your immune system like? How thick of a robust of an immune system do you have? Can you defend yourself from viruses and bacteria? There's bacteria and viruses everywhere in the world, right? Everywhere in the world. How are you staying healthy? Vitamin D helps with our immune system. Go outside. Go outside every single day. 10 minutes. Go outside. Holy shit, how hard is it? If you have a house, if you have any access to a window, stick your head outside the window for 10 minutes a day. Vitamin D is created in our body if we have adequate cholesterol in our blood. Think about that. Ultraviolet rays hit our skin. If we have enough cholesterol in our blood and in our fat, both, and the right cholesterol, your body can make vitamin D. The right types of cholesterol, the right types of fat, your fat cells cholesterol. It's a hormone. Your body needs cholesterol, right? Your body makes vitamin D. Your body needs vitamin D for the immune system, the bones, your muscles, your heart. It's so important, folks. Get outside, fresh air, walk, run, right? Walk. There's just so many simple ways to do it. Okay, enough of this COVID stuff. But again, be healthy. Get outside, walk, drink salt, or eat water, drink water, eat salt, eat meat. Cut the sugar. Just cut the damn sugar. Back to school. Let's do it. How are we going to go back to school? How are we going to do it? I don't know. The kids are going back this week, last week. Staggered entry. These kids are wearing masks. It's pandemonium. It's not pandemonium, folks. We're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. There's going to be some cases. If your kid's sick, keep them home. Keep them home, I guess, right? That's what we have to do. We have to keep them home. Normally, we keep them home anyway. Normally, flu season happens. I guess we keep them home anyway. It's very, very similar, right? You know, folks, I think more and more information is going to come out about COVID in the next couple of months. And hopefully we're going to realize that herd immunity is going to be attained and reached very soon. And that's a great thing, right? Herd immunity is something where most people have it and there are no symptoms, but they're not sick by it. That's herd immunity. That's what we would want, right? So I think it's going to happen within the next couple of weeks, hopefully in the next couple of months. I don't know. But how do you stay healthy? The same way as always, folks. Get rest, get sleep, watch electronics at night, right? You don't want to adjust your you don't want to affect or impede your circadian rhythm, your cycle, your sleep cycle, right? Your circadian rhythm is timed in sync to the sun based off a natural cycle of light, right? Blue light is more common or more abundant in the daytime, and that keeps us awake. It wakes us up. Red light at night is a sailor's delight, but red night at night is more common to the brain, and there's less blue light, so the brain is not firing, helps you fall asleep. That's my backyard explanation, garage explanation. But essentially, you don't want to trick yourself. You don't want to trick your body into thinking it's daytime when it's nighttime, right? If you're trying to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, why shine blue light directly into your eye? Don't do it. Don't be on your cell phone 2 minutes before bed. And then if you do that, you may wonder why you can't sleep, and you may not sleep because you're shining blue light into your eye just before you go to bed. Blue light in your eye in the morning is great. If you get up in the morning, go stare at the sun if it's rising, that's a good idea. Apparently there's a lot of blue light at that time. Good idea, go for that. It's supposed to wake you up. Blue blockers block blue light. You know, you can wear those any time of the day. Stay healthy. And for the kids, right? For the kids, folks, what are we gonna do? Stay healthy. Same as always, when you pack them, hey, here's my advice. When you pack your lunch for the kids for the next 6 months or 8 months, or whatever it is, maybe not put 2 Twinkies in there if you gave Johnny or Sally 2 Twinkies before. Well, why are you saying that, Carlo? Are you saying Twinkies bad? Yes, I'm saying Twinkies bad. Well, what about Bear Claws? Should I give them Bear Claws? No, you shouldn't give them Bear Claws. If you give them Bear Claws, is it better than Twinkies? Yes, but you still shouldn't give them Bear Claws. Well, why, Carlo? The kid next door eats Bear Claws and he's fine. Who gives a shit about the kid next door? Who do you have to take care of when it's sick? Your kid or the kid next door? Who comes to you when they're sick? The kid next door or you? Who do you want to be healthy and happy and not deal with any sort of health problems when they're older? Your kid or their kid? Their kid probably too, but you can actively help your kid. You have the ability to affect your kid every single day, day in, day out, what your kids eat. It's difficult. I'm not going to say it's not difficult, folks, but let's do it. Fruits, veggies, meat. Give your kids meat, for God's sakes. If your kid likes steak and your kid's willing to eat steak for lunch, give your kid steak, for God's sakes. I'm telling you, you give your kid steak every single day or every second day or whatever, your kid is going to grow up very strong and very healthy. Why? I eat steak every single day. I eat liver when I can. I eat eggs. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I've been doing this for 2 years. This has, I think, got me healthy, got me strong, right? It's not just me, folks. It's a lot of other people. Try it yourself. Here's a good back to school tip. Get yourself in shape. Get yourself in good health, really good health. I'm not talking about losing 5 or 10 pounds or 15 pounds. I'm not talking about losing any weight. You're going to lose weight if you do this. You're going to lose weight. You're going to feel better if you do this, but do this. Take the garbage out of your mouth. Take the garbage out of your cupboard. Take the garbage out of your fridge. Take the garbage out of your oven, out of your bread basket, out of all that stuff. Take it out of there. Why? Because it's garbage. It's garbage. It doesn't mean you can't live. It doesn't mean you can't have vices. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. If anybody knows me, I have vices. I have fun. I have a drink once in a while. I have a toke. I dance when I can. I do a cartwheel off the diving board if I can. I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. But I try and do things. I have fun, right? You can still live life. You can still have fun. Kiss your wife, kiss your husband, have sex, go on vacation, laugh, listen to music, dance, like all I said, like all those things I said. Live a little, folks. You can live a little, but you can still do it on this way. You can still do it this way. I'm living, right? Everybody I know that's doing this is living. In fact, this can make your life better. This can make your life happier. It really can, right? Being healthier makes you happier. Being more athletic makes you happier if that's what you're going for, right? Doing the things that you used to do makes you happier if that's what you're going for. And even looking better makes you happier if that's what you want. It's this way. If the way you look is making you unhappy, right? And I'm not saying it should. Your looks shouldn't or couldn't, whatever, whether they affect your happiness or not, it's neither here nor there as far as my judgment. I'm not telling you whether it should or not. But if your looks are making you unhappy rather, if your weight is making you unhappy, if the way your clothes fit you is making you unhappy, you can change the way you eat and it'll change your body. That's the easiest way. The easiest, most direct way to change your body is to change the food you eat, right? That makes sense. I mean, I think we used to think a lot of in the past that you could spot train and you could work off, your abs by doing 1,000 crunches. You can't. I almost have abs. They're coming one day. And yes, I've done a lot of crunches, right, in the last couple of years, but that's not how I'm going to have abs. I'm going to have abs because, well, here we go. Abs are made in the kitchen. There's my kitchen. They're made in the kitchen. The smart personal trainers know that. The smart fitness gurus know that. The personal trainers that are looking to sustain a business are not going to say that, right? But if you're a good personal trainer and you're giving nutritional advice, you're going to get great results as well. Couple that with an awesome exercise routine, you're going to be the best personal trainer, right? So instead of just trying to outwork a bad diet or work out a bad diet or outrun a bad diet or outlift a bad diet, fix your diet. Fix your diet and fix everything else. It's just that simple. I truly think that exercise, whether it's lifting weights or whether it's riding or running or playing sports, they have function, they have purpose. Fun, entertainment, challenge, fitness. Sure, you can do a sport for fitness as well, or you can do it for fun, or you can do it for a challenge, you can do it for glory, you can do it for money, you can do it for whatever. But and yes, it will make your body look different as well, and better even if you choose, if that's what you're looking for, right? My example, I lost probably most of that 110 pounds through diet. In fact, from my experience, exercise has made me gain weight, right? It's not a bad thing. Because and that's a perfect example of looking at something through a too small of a window, too small of a scope. If you looked at just the fact that exercise made me gain weight, and regularly does, I mean, the more I lift, usually the more I'll gain. However, I've not truly tried to lift heavy and be carnivore yet. I think that might be next month for October. But in the past, when I've lifted and when I've exercised, I've gained weight. Almost like clockwork every single time. Now, like I said, it might be because I've always turned to carbs. I've always turned to that bad diet. My glycogen was depleted. I wasn't sure how to replenish it well. So I've kind of always kicked myself off the diet and then eat shitty food. Maybe that's why. But if I just took that metric, or I took that view, that tunnel view as exercise making me gain weight, well, then I would never exercise if I'm trying to lose weight. But that's not the case. Walking is exercise, right? I walked throughout all of my weight loss, and I continue to walk. I'll run a little bit now, here and there. I'm trying every second day. I'm trying to run. I didn't run today. I'm going to run tomorrow. But hopefully tomorrow will be a bigger run. And I bike. I biked a lot last month. I didn't lose. Holy shit. Here's a perfect example. I biked 625 some odd kilometers last month. I don't think I lost a pound from it. It's hard to tell. If I was 213 kilometers August 1st and I was 213 kilometers September 1st, did I lose a pound? You might say, no, you didn't lose a pound, Carlo. It doesn't take strong mathematician to figure that out, chummy. No. Maybe I didn't lose a pound. However, maybe I did lose a pound. Maybe at night I lost some weight. And maybe at night that weight that I lost was regained as muscle. I don't even know how that works, the mechanics of it. Somebody knows the mechanism of action on losing weight. Maybe I lost weight throughout the day. Maybe at night when my body was recovering and taking all the nutrients that I ate, maybe it was then replenishing and rebuilding my muscles. I don't know. That could be how it worked, right? My point is, I could have lost fat in that month, and I probably did lose fat. I did lose fat in that month because my midsection, like my abs and like my belly, like my gut, like it's small. Like I don't want to show you because I'm a little bit shy, but it's pretty small. It's just like chubby, like wiggly. I'll show you guys later. But it's not like I don't have like a big belly anymore, right? It's just kind of like this little thing that's kind of like going away, and the skin it's tightening up. It's tightening up. I lost 100 pounds. People that lose 100 pounds oftentimes have this big flap of skin curtain or whatever the hell they call it, right? And I don't have that. Well, anyway, I can't really talk about without showing you guys anymore. But anyway, I don't have that, and it's and biking. I think it built some muscles in my legs, but it built my hips up, built maybe my glutes up a little bit. But I'm the same weight, right? So, and my belly's a little bit thinner. There you go. It's probably fat loss, right? But it's not weight loss. I guess my point is, it's not about weight loss always. It's about fat loss too, right? So sometimes when you look at the number means a lot. Like on one hand, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have 100 pounds or 200 pounds to lose, sure, the number means something, right? You're not going to lose 100 pounds and gain 100 pounds of muscle, probably. But you may lose 20 pounds and gain 20 pounds of muscle. That can absolutely happen. And I think it happens a lot. So if you're someone like me and you typically gain muscle, not easy, but like, I think my body retains it, right? So I can kind of fire it up faster when I do that. You have a tendency to not only retain water, you're going to retain a little bit of water right away, right? But as you're actually building muscle, you're adding mass, actual mass. So when you add a pound of muscle to your body, like I think about that, and that's not easy to do, right? I would think that a pound of muscle must take time to add, right? And if you're thinking about that, if you're adding a pound of muscle, it's 450 grams of muscle to your pecs. You have your shoulders too, and your ab or your arms. Say for example, you're adding 10 pounds, and you'd be doing just bench press. Say, for example, your body shuffles it around in its own way anyway. But what I guess my point is that gain 20 pounds of muscle, right? That's a lot of weight, right? 20 extra pounds your body then has to, or even now it's a pound I was saying, it's an extra pound your body has to then feed and supply blood to, and it's taxing, right? So having a lot of muscle is good, right? Keeping that muscle active is good. And when you do that, keeping that muscle active, it burns a lot of calories. I think that's what I did last month as well. I guess maybe to sum this up, I think that's what I did last month as well. I was riding a lot, and I kept those muscles good, and their muscles are good, and they're pumped, they're full of blood, and they're ready to go. But muscles that are pumped and they're well hydrated, right? And they're not light muscles. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They're not light. If your muscles are pumped, you're ready to go, and you're athletic, right? It's good. There's weight to it. There's water. There's blood. There's everything like that. So don't get obsessed with that. Other than that, folks, I want to wrap this up. Back to school, back to life, back to reality, whatever you want to say it. Back to being healthy. It's nothing new that I'm saying again this week. But again, I want to extend the invitation to anybody. If you listen to this podcast and you want to be on Fatso Radio, send me an email. Fatso Radio, Fatso Radio, Radio, Fatso Radio @gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know that you want to be on. Let me know why you want to be on. This is what I want to say. If you know me, even if you don't know me, send me an email. If you went to elementary school with me, from high school, you went to college with me, if you worked with me, if you're a family member, you've never heard about me, and you just saw me on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and you want to be on, let me know. I really, really love hearing from people like me, right, who are not experts. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to hear from experts, and I want experts on the show, but I also want to maintain the level of non-expertise, right? Because you are an expert. You're an expert in yourself. You're an expert in being a human being, being a brother, being a paisano, being a sister, being a mother, being someone who struggled with it, right? We all are experts. We all are experts in your daily life. You live your life. Nobody knows your life better than you. Nobody should know your digestion better than you. Nobody should know your sleep pattern better than you. And nobody should know how food reacts to you and how food makes you feel better than you. If you, folks, I'm not trying to preach again, right? I want to make sure I don't sound preachy. But if you're listening to this, you're looking for something. And if you're looking for something, give this a shot. Give this a shot. Recruit people to support you and support them. This, like other things, folks, it takes a village. It takes a village. Thank you for listening to Fatso Radio. September 11th. Oh, before I go, I want to give it a small shout out. September 11th. Everybody knows what it means. The Twin Towers. It's, my God. Oftentimes, not just once a year that I'm reminded by it, but I don't know what to say about it except that my heart goes out to everybody, not just in the U.S., but all over the world, friends and family, loved ones who've lost, people who indirectly were affected. Like I said, 3, 4, 5. This affects a lot of people in a lot of countries all over the world, not just the U.S., but of course, especially the U.S. So I love everybody. Thank you so much for listening. My heart goes out to everybody who's affected and everybody in the world. And thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching on YouTube. Again, fatsoradio@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, Volpe Martial Arts. Volpe Martial Arts, KW's newest, hottest Kung Fu and Hapkido martial arts school. Sifu Adam Volpe is my brother. Check it out, folks. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturday classes, 2-week free trial. Check it out, volpemartialarts.com. This week is also brought to you by Meet the Butcher, Sue Prime Cuts. Check out. Go see Nick. Go see my boy, Nick. Go tell him Fatso sent you. He'll take care of you. I promise he'll take care of you. Tell him Fatso sent you. I love you all. Peace. Have a good night. Fatso Radio. Let's say bye to everybody. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.